Hello, everybody. Welcome to Boilermaker Lounge. It is September. That means the next time the calendar flips, we will have Boilermaker basketball, even though it's exhibition. It doesn't matter. It counts. I am Sam Sprunger. Grant, one more flip of the calendar. Grant Flora, one more flip of the calendar, and we got basketball.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. It's been such a highly anticipated start to this season. It feels like ever since like April we were talking about it. So yeah, we're getting closer, and obviously media day is coming up toward the beginning of October, and we're starting to get the feel of like basketball season's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Football's already going, so school has started for anybody that's involved in any sort of school. Which
I do broadcasting of football, high school football, so that started,
full swing. Yeah, sports are rolling. It's I got my first cross country meet tomorrow, so it's everything's starting to go now.
So therefore, that means it's just a train that keeps on, and that, what a pun, train that keeps rolling to get us to basketball season. So
right.
We are right on the cusp. Granted, we're almost 2 full months away because it's all of September and most of October. But at least in October, we're starting those, like you said, media days at the beginning of October, which we are planning to be at for media days in Rosemont. We're right on the edge, and it seems to be getting even even better for the years to come as well, Grant. As what was it Wednesday that Jacob Weber, the 4-star recruit, commits to the Boilermakers. Grant, what are your thoughts on Mr. Jacob Weber?
Yeah, it looks like a really solid pickup for Purdue. 6'6", like he's got some height to him, but he's more of like a shooting guard. I think a lot of people would relate him to Fletcher Lawyer as like a replacement for Fletch. One of the best shooters in the 2026 recruiting class. From a lot of people kind of view him that way. I've seen some of his highlights, like he's just pulling up with contested jumpers that it's like just kind of off balance, and he's putting them in. He will be able to shoot the ball really well next to Luke Ertl, who also can shoot. Like you're going to lose Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer,
which will hurt.
Right. It'll hurt a lot. 4 really good years at Purdue, but these two guys are going to come in, especially if they're alongside Omer Meyer, and just provide kind of a new, fresh look in the backcourt. And I feel like they're both coming in maybe with a little bit in a bit better of a place even than what Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer at least appeared to be at when they came to Purdue. So I think the expectations can be really high for what Weber and Ertl together as the new backcourt can become.
Yeah, I posted about it. It was Tuesday, by the way, that he committed. But I posted about it on, you add Weber to Luke Ertl, Omer Meyer. I'm going to assume no transfers. CJ Cox, Jakari Harris in the backcourt. Goodness gracious. It stinks that we will be losing Braden and Fletch, but goodness gracious, that helps a lot to say thank you for everything you've done. Look what you set up, because this is setting up very well.
This is how you build a program, right? Like, you have good players that develop, and then when they move on, you have new players to come in that are good, but they're also developing, and you just kind of keep this cycle where you're never going to not have somebody. Like, guys are always going to be there. Sometimes they might be a little younger and be on the come up. Sometimes they're going to have more experience, like Smith and Lawyer this year. But ultimately, like, good programs are going to find ways to be able to reload instead of simply rebuild, like what your Blue Bloods have been in the last several years. But Purdue is getting to that point. They maybe aren't landing your 5-star NBA prospects, but they're landing guys that are going to come in and take the reins and keep Purdue nationally relevant. Whether it's their freshman year, their senior year, you have guys in there to fill the gaps.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those that these guys, you may sit and think, my goodness, nothing can get better than this. When you're looking at a team, think about what we're anticipating for this basketball season. And the amazing thing is, and I guess it's probably absolutely because We're not used to it. But we could have what could probably be one of the best seasons in the history of Purdue men's basketball. And that will be awesome. But then, like, the next year, you're like, oh, what? Most times champions go, wow, we've got some holes to fill. Purdue right now is building something to where they might not have very many holes. They're not going to fill them completely from what they are going to be probably this year, but they're going to fill them. So I'm like, there won't be as many.
Right. There's a plan in place. Like,
yeah.
They're not going to be scrambling for the transfer portal and for international recruits like a lot of
but
these
not to
teams
say
are.
They won't use it.
Right. They could use it, and depending on who they lose to the portal, which it's very common and probably likely that they'll lose at least somebody just with today's day and age, even for Purdue. They definitely could use it, but it's not like they're going to be, when UConn won their first title, 2023, and then their second title, those two teams looked very different from a personnel standpoint. You had a couple guys that had to take some larger roles. You brought in Cam Spencer from the portal. Stefan Castle was a freshman. Like, they brought in a lot of new faces to fill those voids and kind of make a new team that was really good. But it's not like they just took all these players they had, developed them, and just kept replacing from within. Purdue's going to kind of be in that situation, I think, where they're kind of just replacing from within. And it's not like they'll necessarily be a national championship favorite next year at this time. Maybe they'll be up there. Who knows? It depends kind of what happens. But they're going to be able to just bring these new freshmen in, develop the guys that they have, and still put together a nationally competitive team from the guys that they've had within their program. And again, like you said, they might end up using the portal depending on who they lose and what's available to them. But they're not going to be scrambling to the point where they feel like they have to get a certain guy in a portal or from an international prospect or something like that in order to be competitive. I think they'll have a good foundation.
Well, Jacob Weber, the newest commit to the Purdue Boilermakers for the 2026-27 season, he spent his last 2 seasons playing in Kearney, Nebraska, but he's transferring to La Lumiere in LaPorte, Indiana, for his final year of high school. But this last year, 21.7 points, and like you said, some of the highlights of him shooting, just the like the highlights he had, he's stopping right in somebody's face and just boom, knock it down. That's big too, because you get these guys that are going to be able to distribute Omar Mar, CJ Cox, after Braden, and these guys are going to distribute. Luke Ertl, I mean, shoot, he's going to need. You hit a guy that's just got a knockdown jumper, like, it doesn't matter. You could hit him with a guy closing in on him, and he could knock it down. I mean, it to have that sort of knockdown shooting capability, I would think is my biggest thing on the excitement level for him, because he's a shooter and he doesn't have to be standing 4 feet away from anybody in order to have a high shooting percentage. He can do it under pressure.
Yeah, we talk about him being a potential replacement for Fletcher Lawyer, but from a style of play kind of comparison, one that I've seen a lot is Sasha Stefanovic. Yes. Like, the way Stefanovic, I felt like if he was a little more off balance, was on the run, he was going to be able to catch and shoot and still knock down those shots really well. Fletcher Lawyer, I feel like he has such good shooting mechanics, but when he's off balance, it really kind of throws him off, which is especially why imposing defenses can kind of rattle him a little bit if he gets out of those shooting mechanics. Right, spot up shooter, or he'll drive it. I think his ability off the bounce is maybe a little bit better than what Weber's doing right now. Not that couldn't be developed, but Weber, with his ability to kind of shoot in a lot more scenarios and situations, if he's off balance, coming off a screen, things like that, it's just a little bit different than Fletcher Lawyer. And if you think back to Sasha Stefanovic, I think you can get a bit better of an idea of what Weber actually can do shooting the basketball. But you have him and Ertl with those lights out shooters, plus some of the guys they have already that are gonna just put a lot of pressure on defenses. This Purdue offense is gonna be able to light teams up even once they lose their guys.
Well, and you think they're losing 6 off their roster at minimum because they're 6 seniors. Right now, there are 4 more roster spots at minimum, or right at this time. They've got some offers out there for some other guys, but you think just Matt Painter does a 3-guard starting lineup, so it's the fact that we've got 5 that could be absolutely in rotation. There are 5 guards rotating in through 3 spots. And that's not to say that one won't get, someone won't get more minutes than others, but at least the rotation is 3 slots rather than just the 2.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with those next few roster spots, because I feel like one area of, if there's a deficiency with this team coming up for this season, it would be some of that quick athleticism and size and strength, especially on the perimeter. And so far, the 2 recruits coming in are not going to fit that mold as much either. They're very skilled, very good basketball players.
Right.
They're going to help Purdue win a lot of games, but not as strong and athletic as some of those guys you might see at Duke or Kentucky. And again, Purdue can win basketball games with the style that they play. But I think back to that UConn national championship game and the way that their guards just totally outmatched Braden Smith, Fletcher Loyer.
Oh, they out athleted Purdue.
Yeah,
in that
I mean, they couldn't
game.
do anything. They made 1 3 the entire game, and it was a Braden Smith shot clock buzzer beater that, to be honest, had no right going in. Is because their guards just completely manhandled them. And as a fan, it would be nice to see them get a little bit more athleticism to where they could handle those type of teams and compete in that area. That leads me to a guy I would love to see join this recruiting class, Colbin Landrew. While it's iffy on whether he might end up coming to Purdue, there's a lot of other good teams in the mix. He doesn't seem to be primarily leaning Purdue's direction at this point in time. He has some more athleticism, some more size and strength, and is also a super skilled basketball player with his shooting and ability to attack off the bounce and whatnot. I think he'd be a really good fit for this group. It's iffy on whether he actually comes, but they have some options out there to go after a guy like that.
Well, and I'm sure, and I will always have this in the back of my mind. Like it's like March, and you always bet on a Tom Izzo coached team that they're going to perform well in the big. You always know, or at least should know, that Matt Painter's probably got some targets that nobody even knows about, or there's just so, and I'm not saying the big, huge 5 stars or 4 stars. We're talking, he's done what he's done with Braden Smith. He's not going to completely obliterate that. He's still going to try to find the best recruit he can to fill his roster. So even if that's a guy that's coming in as a 2-star, or if they even give 2 stars, I don't know. But my point being is it doesn't matter. If he thinks he's going to fit and he can develop, he's going to keep an eye on him at least. He's willing to look at him at least. He's not going to go, oh, no, we're Purdue, we're only going to look at these. He's going to find the one, because Braden Smith wasn't highly recruited, nor Zach Edey, and look at what they've turned into.
Yeah, and they've been great program fits as well. Guys that have stayed
Fantastic.
for 4 years are going to have some of the biggest legacies in Purdue, of any Purdue men's basketball players in the history of the sport. So, it's like you said, he's going to go after some pretty highly rated recruits. Colbin Landrew is rated pretty high.
Absolutely.
There are some other guys that are rated top 20 or 30.
Cameron Williams is still on, or Purdue's still on his radar. I think Purdue's in the top 7, I think, of Cameron Williams, and he's the number 4 recruit in the class. Yeah. So, I mean, Purdue's still in the running for some of these guys that could be, game changers, basically, like, expected game changers. Now, again, got to fit into the culture. So you can't come in saying I'm the big man on campus. You got to earn your keep. That's all right.
And especially with the way the tides are turning and some of these blue bloods going more transfer portal and
Right.
more recruiting internationally and whatnot, you're going to talk about Purdue being one of the highest recruiting classes at this point for 2026, and they've never been a team that's pulled in a top 1 or 2 rated recruiting class in the country, but they're starting to get at the point where they could get there because they're bringing in good recruits, better recruits than what they necessarily are used to, and you might not see as strong a recruiting classes from teams like Duke and Kentucky because while they are going after some good freshmen, they're also going to fill holes with the portal. And that's just, it's trending in that direction. But with Purdue kind of maintaining their course, they might end up actually having a good chance to be one of the top recruiting classes in the country when it's all said and done.
Well, and say what you will, there are programs that made a killing. I mean, John Calipari at Kentucky made a living off of one and dones. He won a national championship, with it. So I mean, it's not that he was successful year in and year out, but you were sure talking about his team every single year. They had to. It's much like Purdue and Matt Painter saying, he's lost to a 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, all the way, basically all the double digit seeds. Well, but you had to be seeded high enough to play those double digit seeds, so that means, the 1 seed, when you lost to a 16, you're Big Ten champs. You were one of the 4 best teams in the country, according to the committee. Now, that's not saying that they always get it right, but I think they did that year. And Purdue just got beat, but they had one heck of a season.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where you just have to kind of respect Matt Painter for the program that he's built. And I think more and more recruits and more players are starting to realize, like, this guy is doing it consistently. He's one of the best out there. There's no reason why you wouldn't want to play for Purdue. And I think having interest from Purdue is starting to become more and more
it's not
highly
valued
anymore. Right? Yeah, it's not like, oh, it's just another decent school. It's like, if Purdue's interested in me, this really means a lot, because not only am I a good basketball player, but I'm someone that could potentially fit into a culture that they don't just hand out free passes to,
And that's not me saying that Purdue was a joke prior to this, but like to them, but it was unheard of. I mean, there are only so many 5-star recruits. Even if you were to go back into before they ever put stars on recruits, the amount of 5-star recruits Purdue's had in or in men's basketball is very few. I mean, it's more of a blue collar, work your way, get better as you go. Maybe you came in as a recruit, but you came out as one heck of a career in West Lafayette.
Right. So, it's going to be interesting to see just how the rest of this recruiting class shakes out, because
absolutely,
like we've talked about already, with the different approaches to recruiting, but then Purdue's increasing brand and increasing just their ability to now attract higher recruits. It's going to give them a lot more pull towards some of these guys, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some higher rated recruits than we're used to making the decision to come to Purdue next fall.
Well, one is it's another big. In Dustin Schuette's article, it says big man, but Jamin Sondrup is 6'9", so he's tall, but he's kind of thick. He's an athletic body. He narrowed down his list to 6. Along with Purdue, you have BYU, Mississippi State, Utah Valley, and Washington. So Utah Valley, one of the final 6 for Jamin Sondrup. He's a 6'9" center from Springfield, Utah. He's 138th overall, but he is a 4-star, a number 16 center, so a 4-star center at 6'9". I guess that's it. I guess it's kind of funny and telling of how spoiled we've been with centers. 6'9", he's a center. No, that's a forward.
Yeah. And maybe that's how they intend on actually using him, would be at the 4. It's hard to tell because they've also been looking into some 7-footers, and I don't expect them to get away from playing 7-footers pretty consistently.
Why would you?
Seems like right. It's worked so well.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have Erfan Diane is still at a 12 list. He's got a top 12. Purdue still in it, along with IU, UConn. I think Washington's in there. Washington, I tell you, Danny Sprinkle has got some I don't know, charisma or something, because there's a lot of top recruits that at least have Washington in consideration. Not that he's going to get it, but he might get a couple. I mean, shoosh.
Yeah, and to be honest, he might also have a decent NIL situation going on because I don't remember. Great Osabor, I'm pretty sure, was on a pretty nice package. I don't know what it was, but when he went to Washington last season, so
from Utah,
and followed Danny Sprinkle.
Yep.
Right. So I don't know how theirs would compare with some of the other average D1 schools, but I have a feeling they have some pull with that. Actually, there were some rumblings from what I heard that Jacob Weber committing to Purdue, there could have been a pretty nice NIL package for him as well. And Purdue, with their NIL situation, is actually getting to be more competitive with some of those higher NIL schools, which is good for Purdue because I think they're going to steward those resources well to get the guys that they are trying to get, and to offer them those packages, but not abuse it and do it in a way that I don't know, you might end up having some more questions about.
I'm just I sat and actually listened to everything you were talking about and just sat there and went, man, how far have we gone to when you remember the movie Blue Chips? Did you see it with Nick Nolte, Shaquille O'Neal, Anthony Hardaway? It was I think it was a mid 90s thing. It was right after Shaq went into the pros, but I mean that's before you, but like you'd at least know, it's a basketball movie. It's pretty good. But Nick Nolte did his style of coaching, he based it off Bob Knight. And so it's all about illegal recruiting and giving money to players to get them to come to play. And I'm thinking that's in the 90s. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, we're in 2025. But goodness, like that was, now we're talking about how much money are these kids getting to come to a school. And we're not going, shh, don't say anything.
Right. And now it's not even like, it's even more direct now than it was just like a year or two ago. So
yeah. Like it's now it's because the wording was you can't bring or pay a player or a student athlete based on his athleticism, like is anticipate. You can't pay him to play, basically, and now pros, now you can.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's tough because it feels like it's becoming free agency in the NBA to an extent.
Exactly what it is,
right? And you got some guys that are going to schools simply because they have the best offer, and it's what makes things like
I'm not damning them. They're using the system the way it is set up.
Yeah, and you got guys. That's what made the Omer Meyer commitment really so special. Was like there were rumblings that Duke and Auburn both were interested and offered him better NIL packages than what Purdue did, and he still chose Purdue because of the program, and because he thought that was the best place that he could thrive. And so I think I say kudos to that, but obviously you can't
for sure
knock a player for choosing an NIL package that's better suited for them too. So
you know what? If it's within the rules, if they're doing it within the rules, as much as I hate the rules, as long as they're playing by them, I can't damn them for wanting to make some more money.
Right.
Maybe yeah, they anticipate to be in the NBA, but at least while I'm in college, I make as much money as I can in case that doesn't pan out or I injure myself or whatever. They got that.
Yeah. And there are silver linings, like some players I think are going to stick around longer in college because they can make money while they're at it instead of just the rush to go to the NBA as soon as like absolutely possible. So, this isn't. I'm not trying to start a conversation about NIL, good,
no,
bad, what
it's
not, but
it's
it's
got its
involved in recruiting.
pluses and it's got its
Right.
negatives, and it is the system that we play by. That's just what I was thinking was, man, this is the system we play by now. When 20 years ago, you would put a program on death row with that. Like, it would get the death sentence with some of the stuff. Like, you paid him how much?
Right.
SMU back in the day got the death penalty football.
Yeah, those types of things can definitely harm a program. Even like you look at what happened to IU, just those types of situations where you break rules and then you have all sorts of sanctions on you. They really haven't fully recovered from that. They've had some ups and some downs, but it's been really tough since those things happened. So, it's just now that the rules are what they are, it's
mind-boggling.
Right. It's mind-boggling. It's good, I think, for Purdue too, like to be competitive in that area, in the area of NIL.
Absolutely.
Like, if they're gonna keep up playing the way that they've been playing and with their recruitment and their style of program, if they're gonna keep that part of who they are, they have to be able to get people to come play. And if you don't have any NIL, that's gonna be a major turnoff for a lot of players.
Oh yeah, you've got to have something,
Right. So it's not like they have to be the BYUs of the world where it feels like they have as much as they possibly could need, but they're going to be able to compete with a lot of schools that are going after similar types of players.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of players that are still out there that Purdue could add. Two of these higher recruits, I think, you shoot one more higher recruit. I think you say this is a very successful recruiting class, one of the best in the country, no matter where everybody else pans out type thing. And 2026 is looking pretty good because you've added other pieces, maybe through the portal. I mean, like I said, if you can't get a full roster from your recruits, that's okay. I mean, you do have the portal that you can search for. They'll know how many spots they have. I mean, just like we did this last year, we had an idea, and then Heidi and Colvin left, so we were able to add a couple more. We're in good shape, and
yeah.
I think this is exciting times, but at the same time, I'm going, wow, what do we? Yeah, it's like Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, what do we do? It like I don't know. The unknown is. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I am. It's going to be interesting because as much as they bring back, really everybody that they bring back feels like a role player right now. Like they're going to lose all their stars: Fletcher, Braden, Pickoff, and Wren. Omer Meyer is the only one that feels like it's going to be a star and will come back. So it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out. Because if you don't have a star and you have a bunch of role players, can they create and can they do more than just the cookie cutter type things? And I'm sure they'll be fine with that. But this season will shed a lot of light on what the team next year will look like because you're going to see who breaks out. Is Omer the player we think he can be? Does a guy like Antoine West end up being a lot better and have a shot to take a leap to where he becomes a star next year? Those types of questions I think will be answered as this season progresses. And it also could inform Matt Painter on, okay, do I need to go find a transfer to bolster the roster and give us some more star power potentially? Or are we going to have enough star power with the guys that we have and then some role players to come in and support that we're going to be fine? So that'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. Could make an impact on what the roster ends up being. But the good thing is we're going to have several guys. We're going to be one of the deepest teams in the country next year for sure again. And we'll just see kind of what the top end talent looks like.
Bo Ogden is still out there too. Purdue's in the top 4 for him. You're absolutely right. sorry, he popped into my head as soon as
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you stopped talking. I was like, Bogdan. We haven't
Yeah.
even said anything about him, and I I know as much as I can find, like highlights. I haven't, watched any actual game tape or anything of Bo Ogden. So I'm assuming that he's a heck of a good ball player to be rated this highly and stuff. So I think if he were to come to Purdue, that would be a great help to Purdue. But right now, like you said, they've got a lot of who's going to be the leader type person to figure out this year for next year. Like you said, Antoine Antoine West Jr. What the I
He's looked so good on
yes.
social media. They just released a new post on Instagram of like some updated fresh practice clips, and he knocked down. It looked like it was him. He knocked down a contested 3-point jump shot from the wing. It's just he's been doing that all summer, and obviously we're only seeing the highlights. But like this kid looks like he's gonna have to be played this next season, which throws a big wrench in what the rotation's going to be for Purdue, because someone's not going to get as many minutes as they should,
Right.
whether it's Jakari Harris, whether it's, even like Jack Benter, somebody or in that area is going to lose out on minutes just because there aren't enough to go around.
I tell you what, that's a great problem to have. It's Dustin Schutte was not a liar when he said he's going to be a baller. He is
Mm.
going to be a star. And it's not like you said, we see the whitewashed always seeing the highlights, you don't see the bad. Okay, I get that, but at the same time, when you see those and how great the play is, or just that glimpse of what he's going to turn into. It's just like Jakari Harris. I'm like, wow, he's got some moves that you're going to see. He's going to be a great athlete and great basketball player. We just haven't gotten to year 2 yet. Antoine West, same. Like you can just see he's got those just quick reflexes, and the way he finishes a play. Just I'm so excited to see him play this year too.
And he brings some of that athleticism that it seems like
Yes.
Purdue's been lacking in their backcourt a little bit. So that I think will be very valuable, especially once he gets more minutes in the coming years. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, super exciting player,
But like you
just
said,
like Omer.
but that like you said, his how he develops this year will decide whether or not he's going to be looked at as being that star power going into the 26th season. So I think you're absolutely right to the point of the 2026 season is being shaped by how this one plays out. With those role players that we're seeing as role players, how they take the next step. And yeah, we're talking about potentially Antoine West Jr. being a freshman, having never played in college, developing into what could be a start. And I'm totally perfectly fine with that.
Right. Yeah. And I think he's going to be influential on this year's team. Like, as a guy coming off the bench to spell a guy like Fletcher Lawyer, Antoine
Yeah.
West can shoot it. Honestly, it looks like he's going to be a better defender than Fletcher Lawyer, to be honest. Even in some of the highlights, we've seen him get after the ball defensively, make some plays. I think there might be times this season, especially if Purdue's playing teams that have more athletic, just tougher guards, where you might need guys like Jakari Harris and Antoine West to be on the court more than a guy like Fletch, just because they got to be able to guard these guys. And that's
Right.
where Purdue's biggest holes are going to be for overall their team, just defensively. You might have to sacrifice the extra offense from Fletch if you have Braden out there, Vic Hoffman ran out there, put a little bit better of a defensive lineup in, and Antoine West could be a guy that fits that role pretty perfectly.
And maybe even keep up the offense too at the same time.
Right. Like, it's not going to be that much of a drop off
Right.
with any of those guys. So
yeah, but I'm super excited for 2026-27 just because I'm anxious to see who steps up, basically, like you were saying, who steps up to be that star power, and whether Coach Painter needs to get somebody else to kind of bring that. Not necessarily. See, I don't know if I say star power, but at least the reliability to make some of these others be able to have that star power. I guess that leadership quality. I guess maybe. Coach Painter doesn't pass me as being one that does much big piece shopping in the portal,
Right. Yeah, we haven't ever really seen that. Oscar Clough, probably one of the bigger pieces we've seen him pick
Yeah.
up in the portal, especially because he just is filling so many holes that they had. But I think the biggest thing is like you got to have playmakers. You got Braden Smith, Trey Coffin-Wren, Fletcher Loyer that are all big playmakers for Purdue right now, can create kind of their own shot. You lose those guys, it's like, okay, who's going to be able to create their own offense or create offense for others? And you got Omer, who looks like he's going to be able to do that really, really well.
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, we got to have multiple guys that can do this. And are our role players that are kind of the beneficiaries of that right now, are they going to step into those roles? That's what we're going to kind of feel out this season.
It's going to be a good one. We went a little bit. We didn't talk much about this year necessarily just because there are points that we've got to talk about what's happening after this year. So we felt this one was a good one because there's a lot of recruiting news. Now, there's only been one commit, but there are kids that are like we've been covering for the last 3 weeks exclusively, probably. They're winnowing down their lists and Purdue's staying on a lot of them. Now there have been a couple that have cooled on Purdue, and that's fine. That's part of the game. But we've got a lot of lists that are still there. So we felt that getting Jacob Weber, talking about some other recruiting news, Purdue right now has the best recruiting class in the cycle right now, and they only have 2 commits right now. I think I saw Jacob Weber where he rates at on the class list. It's one of the highest ever to commit to Purdue.
Yeah, I've been hearing top 30.
Yeah,
at least on some lists, and that's pretty tough. So with that, plus like you said, some of the other guys they could get, it's going to be deep, going to be talented with the guys that are there.
And Dustin Schutte says that he thinks Ertl will be in the top 45.
Yeah, and even if like he's not, he really is. Like everybody thinks he's underrated. Every media analyst person you talk to is going to say that about Luke Ertl. So it's ultimately it's not really about the rankings. It's about like this guy's going to come in and he's going to be a star one day, and that's really what it all comes down to.
Well, if this is what being a year in year out championship contender, I know you're not going to win them every year, but at least be in the talk. If this is what that feels like, then sign me up. This is great because we're talking about kind of glossing over that we could have a fabulous season this year, talking about next season. But that, like I said, it's going to happen. So we figured we'd talk about it now, right? But,
we'll have plenty of time to talk about this coming year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's only one more turn of the calendar, Grant. Just one more turn.
There you go. Let's go, man.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of this week's Boilermaker Lounge. Oh, Grant, enjoy. Good luck at your cross country meet. Hopefully you run fast. I guess I don't know. I don't know how. Yeah,
that's what we do.
But enjoy the fall weather, everybody, this weekend, and we'll be back next week with much more here at the Boilermaker Lounge. But for Grant Flora, I am Sam Sprunger, and we will see you next week.